Everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian Donnelly. I'm an expert in distilled spirits with 9 years experience in the alcoholic beverage industry, and my goal is to educate consumers more about the alcoholic beverages they enjoy so they can make better shopping and drinking decisions. The goal of today's video is to answer one question. Does the best $60 bottle of bourbon come from not Kentucky, not Tennessee, and not Indiana, but in fact the state of Missouri? Because today we're talking about Ben Holladay bourbon. Let's get into it. Next, let's talk about what is real Missouri bourbon. Again, I'm referencing the article I wrote for my website. The labels of both expression of Holladay bourbon read Missouri Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and you may be asking yourself if that means anything legally. Turns out it does. According to House Bill 266, signed on Thursday, July 11th, 2019, any whiskey labeled as Missouri bourbon must not only meet the federal standards for bourbon, but also be mashed, fermented, distilled, aged, and bottled in the state, aged in oak barrels manufactured in the state, and beginning January 1st, 2020, made with corn exclusively grown in the state. This law went into effect August 28th, 2019. So as a real Missouri bourbon, the Holladay Distillery sourced their Missouri corn from within 20 miles of the property, and the same farmer collects the spent grains to use as cattle feed, creating a closed loop. The distillery sources its barrels from Independent Stave in Lebanon, Missouri. These barrels are made from new Missouri charred white oak with a number 3 char. I'm going to show you guys the bottles when I get into the tasting portion, but since we're talking about labeling of Missouri bourbon, I just want to show you the label here. All right, so here's the label for their flagship product, and you'll see right there, Missouri Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And we'll get into the bottle and bond component here in a moment. The majority of bourbon distilled and aged in the United States comes from the state of Kentucky. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Historical reasons, geographic reasons. Again, the history of bourbon is long, and when I say long, within the context of the United States, because compared to other spirits categories, the United States is a relatively new country and complicated. There's a lot of folklore, there's a lot of myth. Separating fact from fiction is very, very challenging. And again, this video is not meant to deep dive into the history of Kentucky bourbon, bourbon as a category here in the United States, or even, the complicated, or even the long distilling history in the state of Missouri. If we talk about the geographic factors that go into making Kentucky bourbon, then that begs the question, can you make Kentucky-style bourbon in the state of Missouri? Skeptics can be told that the Holladay Distillery can make Kentucky-style bourbon in Missouri because of 3 significant factors: water, warehouses, and weather. The Holladay brothers purchased the land in 1849 at the site of some natural limestone springs first chartered by Lewis and Clark in 1804. Still, it took them 7 years to convert it into a fully operating distillery. They dug out a cistern from the 7 limestone springs, which are 15 feet wide and 35 feet deep and hold 45,000 gallons of natural limestone filtered spring water. Located right next to the still house, it takes about 3,000 gallons of water to cook a batch of bourbon. The next day, the water level returns to where it was. Putting a dollar amount in this kind of natural resource would be impossible. All right, so that covers water. Next, warehouses. The property has 3 ironclad rick houses, also called rack houses, that date back to the early 1900s. The first building, built in 1904, was converted into office space, leaving the remaining 2 rick houses active to age bourbon. One building is 6 stories tall and holds 10,000 barrels. The second is 7 stories tall and holds 12,000 barrels. These buildings are not climate controlled. They are called ironclad rick houses because they are built from wood and metal. This style of aging warehouse is not found outside of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, making the Holladay property unique for Missouri. At the beginning of the hot season in spring, they open up the windows of the rick houses to allow the aging barrels to breathe. In the fall, they close the windows for the winter. The weather in this part of Missouri is very similar to Kentucky and Tennessee, except it pushes the extremes of summer and winter. The summer can reach 110 degrees Fahrenheit, that's around 43 degrees Celsius, and winter can go to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about negative 29 degrees Celsius. In the 7-story rick house, it is not uncommon for there to be a 30-degree temperature difference between the bottom floor and the top floor. There is also a cave on site that predates the distillery. Previously used to cure and preserve meat when the property was a slaughterhouse, Ben Holladay used the cave as the original location for storing whiskey barrels. The distillery recently had the cave federally bonded, which means they can legally age barrels there. They used the spot to play around with experimental barrels, wood toasting, wine barrel finishing, and double oaking. So thank you so much again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you even learned something. Please give this video a like and consider subscribing. If you do not care about the video component of these brand education and tasting videos, please consider subscribing to my podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Also, if you would like to support this channel further, please consider becoming a Patreon member or gift me a cocktail through the link below in the description. Thank you so much again for your support. If you would like to be notified whenever I have new content on my website or this YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to my email newsletter. I'll leave a link below in the description. And if you have feedback or recommendations for this channel, please leave me a comment. Or if you'd like to have a more in-depth conversation, please shoot me an email. I personally read all the emails I receive, and I do my best to reply to all of them. So if you have any recommendations for the channel, leave me a comment. Or if you want to have a more in-depth conversation, shoot me an email. Thank you so much again for watching, and as always, please drink responsibly. Cheers.